Well, this is my fourth Fore-edge art project, and I tried 3 different things in this one, and they sort of had mixed results. But I started with a book that was relatively thin. It's Winnie the Pooh. It's about 9 inches tall and pretty narrow as far as pages. I think there were only 159 numbered pages. So one of the challenges, well, first of all, this is going to be disjointed, but anyway, for this one I used my steel ruler and my craft knife because I found it easier to cut the strips doing that than with a paper cutter, and of course scissors to cut the 45-degree angles. A lot of this will make more sense if you've watched the first video I did. And then this time I've used, and for the last couple actually, I've used this Scotch brand roller tape runner instead of the Tombow. It's a little bit narrower. It's still too wide to actually cover all of the strip, so that's a little tricky having to sort of keep it on the edge, but it's not as wide as the Tombow, and it might be a little cheaper. And just going through this book, for example, I used 2 of these. So this one incorporated something, one of the different things I've never done before, and I'll insert a still picture in here as I'm editing this. Because this was pretty slender and that doesn't suit itself well for these kind of art projects, one technique is to basically bulk up the pages by doing what's called a 180 fold. And it's hard to tell here because the paper strips are on it, but maybe from the side. I wonder if I can tell from the side. We'll see. The still pictures will make more sense, but basically each page is first scored this far in, and people can choose different depths depending on their own personal preferences. And then that is folded over, that's why it's 180 degrees, and then glued down. And so that basically doubles the bulk on the edge here of each page. And then the photo strip is put on top of those. So to get a nice crease and a nice fold, there's a variety of tools out there. Crafted Sweetly, Diana, one of the first women whose videos I saw about this whole project, has created these guides. And this one is plastic. I just got it. It's got a lip right there. And so when the book is fresh, you put this up against the pages of the book. It has to be completely squared, so you can't have the pages fanned back at all. So that was tricky a little bit in propping it up for that. I guess you would have had to experience this to know what I'm talking about. But basically you push this up against the squared edge of the book then, and you choose a place where you want to score. And then I've used this scoring tool. It has just a little round ball at the end. Because on this there are 5 places really where you could score. So if this is up against the edge, you could score leaning against this side, leaning it against this side, which is slightly different, leaning it against this side, or even up here if you wanted. So, of course, there's one challenge in always making sure that the score is exactly the same place, because when the pages are folded in half, or not in half, but when they're folded over, obviously you want them still to line up. So that was one challenge. And then I didn't know whether I should fold first, and then I hadn't even decided if I was going to glue those down or if then I was going to do the photo strips. And I ended up folding it first, and it made the book really big. I'll show a still photo of that here. So here are some still pictures of some of the process along the way I've described so far. This is the guide that is propped up against the squared off part of the book, and the book is propped up so that the pages don't fan. And then I used the stylus with that size little ball, and that's the score mark you can see there on a page that it left. Here's another close-up of the score. line. I was actually pretty successful in always doing those exactly at the right point. So I think I was successful in that. And then here's one of the pages folded up. You can see the rest of the book underneath it where they haven't been folded yet. So, and then this is at the end of the folding of them and just showing how much bulk that adds. This is the front view, of course. And then here's the top view. You can also see when you look at the front cover and the back cover now how much more indented it is because of the 180 folds. And so then I unfolded everything and started to apply the photo strips, but that made it hard to put the glue on because there were other flaps underneath it. So it's hard to explain. But so then I ended up refolding and gluing every one of the 180 folds, but then that made the bulk. And so then when I was doing the paper strips, I elevated the book and used a breadboard and cutting board, and then made the pages more flat so I could glue the things on. So this was not as fun as some of the others. Here's my first attempt with my hardbound Curious George book in Spanish, just to help elevate a few of the pages, and then that didn't work, so I tried a breadboard, and that at least helped lift them so they could be flatter without so much give in the ones underneath. Okay, this took me 5.5 hours to cut and glue the strips, but that was after I'd already spent time scoring and folding. That was probably another couple of hours. Anyway, so that 180 fold was one of the challenges. The second challenge was this book had several pages in the front that were unnumbered. And I wanted to, or some that were numbered. I think there might be a forward here with some of these that are numbered, okay, with Roman numerals. But basically, page 1 doesn't start until there. So the strips that are numbered, first of all, you have to, when you're counting the pages, then you have to count these pages to be sure to tell the program how many total pages the book has. But then it doesn't have a way yet, and I do hope maybe the programmer will modify that, but they don't have a way of putting like pages at the beginning. So like maybe negative pages for pre-pages. So what this meant, though I'm probably not making sense yet, is that strip number 1 goes on the first physical page, but of course, since it's not marked, 3 is the next, and then 5, etc. So when we finally get to page 1, where was page 1? So when we finally get to the real page 1, we are on strip number 19. So all along the way, I can't, if I forgot where I was, I couldn't look at the page number and then use that strip. Now, it's not as big a deal as it sounds, maybe because I could just look at the previous strip that I did and do the next one and then be very systematic about keeping them in order. But that was a bit of a challenge, and I'm glad I didn't do that, first of all. Here's just another close-up of the strip, which is numbered 37, and it's page 19. So there was that challenge along the way. Now, the third challenge, and it had mixed results, but, you know, what can I say? And I tried to fix it a little, but that didn't work, so I'm abandoning it. So since we have this Winnie the Pooh book, even though these are the original illustrations, I chose some Disney images. And what we have is a lenticular book. See if I can have room for this, which is supposed to show Winnie the Pooh, this graphic at the top, in all views. So as I turn it, you can see it's in all views. This is going to make sense in a minute. But from this side, as we're looking at this, we have Pooh here, and Tigger down here, Eeyore and Piglet up here with a tree and some grass. And so that's what you see from this side. And then as you turn it, I think I mentioned this is called a lenticular image. Then you start to see Eeyore and Pooh. And so what the actual images were, this was one where Pooh is sort of hanging from the tree and Piglet's there. And then, like I said, Eeyore and the tree and the grass and Tigger. And then the other image is these two guys, but I kept the Winnie the Pooh in both places. So it isn't perfect, and it should be, because I spent a lot of time painfully folding each strip exactly in half, because, and I'll show some still photos of this. What these strips are then is the left side of the strip is going to be for one image, the right side of the strip is going to be for the other image. So you have to fold this exactly in the center. Otherwise, you'll see a little bit of leftover, because see, sort of here at this angle, you can see a little bit of the Pooh from the other image, and a little bit of Tigger's arm over here. So it meant I didn't fold. And then on this one, which is actually probably a little bit better, you can see a little bit of Pooh's arm there. So I went back and tried to fold after they were glued ever so slightly better, and I couldn't do it with the glue. I think I'd have to completely remove the strips and refold. But I like I said, I was very, very, very careful in folding, so I don't think I can do any better. So this is just going to have to suffice. Here's what the strips look like before they're cut. You cut them on the black lines, and then you can see where there's the different images, so they have to be folded exactly in half. Here's just another view where you can see how you have to fold exactly to get the images separated. And then these are some that are cut, that again just show some distinction. Also the slants at the top where I had to cut for the 45-degree angles. So we've got the Pooh gang there. I wish I had a better angle with my camera. And we've got Tigger. Got too much leftover down here. Got Tigger and Pooh there. That just really did not turn out as well as I'd hoped. So, needless to say, this will be the last lenticular book I will be doing. All right. And here are just some parting still images, trying to get the two sides. There's Tigger and Pooh with a little ghost in the background. And then here's the whole gang around the tree in the garden. And so that is that.